All right, everyone, in the wake of Annapolis, a lot of the corporate media heads did a pity me sort of thing, and they're like, oh, Trump and Milo and a bunch of other people are causing violence towards journalists, despite the fact that they immediately disavow violence towards journalists. Like, they disavow it immediately. Maxine Waters calls on people to be harassed. It takes 2 days for Chuck Schumer to weigh in. Some of them still agree with her, apparently. She's not facing any censure from the Senate, which, from the, I believe, House of Representatives. She should. Here's the thing. Caitlin Collins, one of the people from CNN, made a tweet that sort of encapsulates the hypocrisy of this. Said, well, I don't ever want to hear the term fake news again. So basically, you're trying to you're taking actual victims of an actual shooting, and you're trying to project as though you have some skin in the game when it comes to this. No, you don't. You weren't there. You weren't involved with this. You're not being victimized. Look, essentially these people at CNN and elsewhere, like, hey, if you don't like the fact that we lie constantly and defame people and basically try to screw around with people's minds and turn them to mush through corporate propaganda because we are for-profit billion-dollar corporations, which is what CNN is, owned by a multinational firm that has nothing to do with U.S. sovereignty. If you don't like the fact that this is the way that some people get their information, thankfully a declining total, you attack the First Amendment. You're an evil person. If you use the term fake news, it's a bad thing. Who invented that term? Who was the first to use that term? It's the corporate media. Didn't come from the alt media. Trump's not the first one that said it. I believe it was CNN, actually, that first coined the term. Or is it MSNBC? It was one of these rag outlets, one of these modern-day tabloids. You have become nothing more at CNN, at Fox, at all these groups than tabloids. You're like the National Enquirer, only less accurate and less entertaining, I would say, and more muzzled, less independent, less talented in every possible way. Then I think to myself, what's causing all these subscribers to pile onto my channel and channels like this? Oh, that's right, the fact that millions of people have stopped watching CNN alone. And most of them, they're not going to other cable networks. No, they're coming to the alt media. Yeah, I think it's great, by the way. I think it's wonderful. I also think it's wonderful that if you look at the efficiency involved, and I've pointed this out, you get 1,000 actual people that appear on TV or have something directly to do with creating broadcasts working, and they get an audience of a few tens of millions. That's not a great retention total, especially considering it costs, tens of millions of dollars a year just to keep the lights on and do the broadcasts. And then advertising revenue has begun to dry up. It's not just the alt media that suffered from this. The basic model of advertising as it generally propped up the internet is dying anyway. Eventually, people are going to have Bitcoin mining systems and stuff like that embedded in their sites. Like BitChute's got one. It's voluntary. It's optional. I think it's a great idea. And then grassroots funding and, selling mugs or something. Selling merchandise as opposed to trying to sell advertisements, which... Now, ad companies like GM, they're like, yeah, we got expendable money, so it doesn't matter if we run the campaign to remind people we still exist. But it's ultimately, it's a declining amount. You put 10 million in, you get 9 million out. Well, that's only good if you want attention, I guess. Make sure that you have brand awareness. But shame on CNN. She should be fired for saying this, trying to make herself a victim of an incident she wasn't part of, based on fear that's been stoked by the fact that the corporate media has fallen out of favor in the country. I don't feel like I'm going to be victimized. No, I get victimized maybe by the corporate media. I've had them run literal hit pieces involving me. I don't worry about getting gunned down because someone has a stick up their ass about the alt media, and I'll tell you why. I'll tell you exactly why. The corporate media feels unaccountable and is run by a bunch of rich people and lies all the time. The alt media has much more reason to tell the truth. Here's why. If I go viral because I make an article or I make a video or something and I'm wrong, I'm inaccurate in some way, BuzzFeed and Right Wing Watch and all these groups will breathe down my neck about it, and they'll try to tell their fans, oh, he's lying to you, he's a horrible person. Of course they will. Just like the alt media does to them. It affects a private individual who is grassroots funded, therefore, far more than it does a corporate media outlet where they've been doing it anyway and the advertisers don't care. At least that proportion of their income is ironclad. They don't have to worry about where their next meal's coming from. Their idea of taking a salary haircut is, oh, I only made $2.5 million this year instead of $2.8 million. Woe is me, I had to downsize I had to rent out my penthouse for the weekend to make up the lost difference. I had to sell my private island. I had to give up the Lamborghini. I've still got the Ferrari and I've still got the limousine, but I had to give the Lamborghini up. I couldn't make the payments on the car insurance. It's terrible. I feel like a second-class citizen. I'm poor. Oh my God, I only made 10 million this year. That's the way they think. Now, that's why I don't sit there worrying. They have to worry. Also, they tend to live in anti-gun big cities because that's where, you do your corporate broadcast from. It's like, yeah, New York City, you're going to be really well defended. No, only if you have a bodyguard. Yeah, even there, eventually de Blasio or whoever fucking ends up running the city will probably take those guns away too and arm them with, spitball guns. It'd be really funny. You'll have to use blow darts or something. Which, by the way, would be very effective. No, shame on him. Pity me. Oh, pity us. Trump is attacking the First Amendment. That's why this happened. No, you have no indication of the shooter's political affiliation. He had a grudge against one specific media outlet for defaming him specifically. Kind of like media outlets defame everyone in the alt media. As far as I know, no alt media figure has ever hauled off and attacked you. It's never happened. This is a deranged individual who had a personal grudge. And we have a lot more self-control. Enough self-control not to encourage proxy wars, by the way. A lot more people die because of CNN or Fox News encouraging war and encouraging shitty policies, overlooking corruption, spreading propaganda and hate, and selling fear. A lot more death happens from that than because of any individual that might have a grudge against them. When your broadcast is, the world is falling apart, everyone hates one another, hate, fear, fear, be afraid of the internet, be afraid of this Japanese game, I guess now they're saying causes suicide or something. Be afraid of everything, folks. Everything's falling apart. You know how much crime that probably does cause? Yeah, people think that they're on the verge of the apocalypse every single day. It's caused by groups like CNN and Fox. It's not caused here. I'm not telling people that. I wrote a book about nuclear survival. So, a little bit different there now, isn't it? We're victims. We're victims in this as much as those people got shot. No, you're not. No, you're far away in a penthouse somewhere. You have nothing to do with it. Pity me. No, I'm not going to pity you at all. You've made your bed and you're going to have to lay in it. If you're experiencing... It's like when they say, well, people are lying about us. You've been lying about everyone else for 1,000 years. Oh, we have to live in fear as journalists. You've made people in the alt media constantly paranoid too. Because you're constantly trying to deplatform them and take away their livelihood. So screw you. Who cares? Nobody should be the target of violence. Like, yeah, okay, preemptively. Yeah, I disavow violence against journalists too, but it's like when I was talking about Holt that other time. It's like when he got doxxed. I came out and I defended him essentially and said, no, I don't agree with doxing. That includes of him, and, he's actually written hit pieces on me. He comes out and basically says, fuck off. That's the way that the corporate media works. So yeah, it's like, yeah, you expect everyone to close rank and defend you while you lie to us and defame us and try to attack us on a daily basis. What do you expect? Donald Trump will come out and do it and say, no, I disavow this. Violence against journalists is terrible. And Melania will come out and say it, and Ivanka will say it, and Mike Pence will say, oh yeah, it was a terrible day, day of mourning. Okay, wonderful. But it's not affecting you directly as a journalist. Just because one group gets attacked by some dude with a grudge doesn't mean Milo was involved. It doesn't mean evil Trump, two scoops, Drumpf Hitler was involved. That's not the way that the world works. You're living in a delusion. You're also living in the delusion that you're under constant attack. No, you're not. The fact that you get called fake news or shouted down by people who you obviously don't like and feel are below you, that's not violating your rights, and it's not going to make you afraid. Not unless you've gotten really too comfy with your ability to defame others without repercussion. That's what I think's happened. They expect to be able to lie to people and defame and deplatform without any repercussions. Well, everything comes home to roost eventually. So yeah, that's what I would say about that. Violence is never acceptable towards journalists. That includes the alt media, by the way. We're more journalistic than CNN. I have more journalism in me than all of CNN has at this point. It should upset people. It should be sad. Like, oh yeah, cable news at least used to tell the news occasionally. It used to be something more than opinion. There's still a lot of bias there, but there was a kernel of truth in every story. Now those kernels are gone, and you're left with nothing but the dry, withered stalk. That's essentially what CNN is. And it's not partisan either. It's corporatism. So yeah, don't exonerate the Blaze. Don't exonerate Fox. To some extent now Breitbart. They're the same as a CNN, MSNBC, a BuzzFeed, a Wall Street Journal, the Atlantic, the New York Times, and these poor journalists that make 7 figures, they have to live in fear. You've got private security forces. You've got a good retirement plan, hopefully. Some of you live beyond your means probably because you snort coke all day, and that's how you get to work in the morning. Get a 10-ton, brick of cocaine for your birthday. Yeah. Well, wonderful, stellar individuals. Now, I don't really, I don't have pity for this individual proclaiming, I'm a victim, I live in fear. No, you don't. Not unless you're paranoid, which could explain why you do the soccer mom, sort of the fear-mongering thing, the moral hand-wringing, haranguing sort of temperance housewife thing. It's what they do. That's about all. Peace out.